I have much more time with my kids in the evenings. And as you know about teenagers, sometimes they might be in their room for 2 straight hours and then they come out at 10 o'clock and want to have a conversation with you or whatever. So I just want to be around. I just want to be hanging around. And so the other thing I do is I outsource just everything that I don't like that doesn't feel like a good use of my time.
Hello, and welcome to the Positively Healthy Mom podcast. I'm your host, Laura Ollinger, teen and young adult well-being coach and founder of Positively Healthy Coaching. And today, I'm so excited to introduce you to my guest because we have actually known each other for over 30 years, if we're going to be a little honest about our age.
Yeah.
We actually went to the same high school. We were not in the same grade, but Michelle Gauthier, Parkway West Longhorn, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here. Wouldn't it have been funny if we knew back in the day in 2026, I'd be on your podcast?
I know. I can't even imagine being able to predict that this is what would be happening.
Or what is a podcast?
Yes.
Or what is a life coach? Any of those things.
Yes. All the things. So, Michelle, I really want to give you this wonderful introduction because you're so awesome. You're a professional life coach who helps busy and overwhelmed women create a more calm and intentional life. I just love the sound of that. And you have a podcast of your own called Overwhelmed Working Women. So I know we're going to have some awesome things to talk about today. So I can't wait to get into it. So let's start off just with the idea of what you're seeing, kind of the types of clients that you work with as far as like the need to help and coach overwhelmed working women. Tell me about that.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny sometimes just in, social situations or something, I'll say, oh, I'm a life coach and I have a podcast called Overwhelmed Working Woman. And every woman's like, that's me. I feel like the whole world is overwhelmed right now, especially women and even more, especially moms, because we just take on so much things that are seen and unseen. We're the ones who are always think of everything, planning everything, as well as managing jobs and all of that. So what I'm really seeing is a lot of women who are feeling stressed and overwhelmed and have gotten to the point where they think, I don't want to do this anymore. I have everything that I ever worked towards, and it just does not feel good because I'm so stressed and overwhelmed.
Yeah. So, they come to you, they find you, and share about some of the tools that you use with them because I know one of the things what you're saying is we just take on a lot as moms, right? We kind of take on all these roles. Not only are we moms, we're managing things for our kids. You have teenagers, I have teenagers. Even with teenagers, there's things moms still have to manage with their lives. And then we're, things with the house and things with the family and, all these things. So when they come to you, it's how are some ways that you can help them?
Yes, yeah. Well, the first thing that we talk about is the difference between stress and overwhelm. And the way that I would describe that is that stress is something where there's pressure, maybe to get something done. Sometimes I think stress can be good. It
Yeah.
feels like, yes, there's this thing I need to do, but it's manageable. And then overwhelm is when there are so many stressors happening at the same time that it becomes unmanageable. And kind of the hallmark of feeling overwhelmed is not being able to think clearly. So here you've got this huge to-do list and all these people who you're taking care of, and then you've lost your ability to even think clearly to say, I'm going to prioritize this thing first, and then I'm going to do that, because when you're in overwhelm, that's kind of how it feels. So the first thing I like to talk to women about is just that, this is why you can't think clearly, because you're completely overwhelmed. So let's start taking that apart. What is one part that we can start working on? And it's different for every client, but I would say if you were to ask me what is one thing or a couple things that I work on with every client, it's usually people pleasing, um, how to say no, how to manage their time in a different way, and then how to be the most productive. But I think it all starts, I know you are also a coach, and so there's a lot about mindfulness, but I think a lot of it starts with looking at the beliefs and the ways that we've been brought up and have been living our life up to this point to see if it still serves us. And I find that most women, in fact, I think I can say unequivocally, every woman I know who's not a people pleaser has worked to get there.
Yes. Yes, that's what I call myself, a recovering people pleaser, a recover
Yes.
I mean, I don't know if we say past or present, but,
Yes. Yeah.
like, working on that because we finally have acknowledged that that's where we are or were, and we get so burned out, and at some point, you have to start drawing boundaries because that's not sustainable to live like that.
Exactly, and I think the reason that people are coming to me at the time that they're coming to me is because they have been doing that their whole life, and I tend to work with people who are achievers and accomplished, and so their only gear that they have or their only strategy that they have when they feel overwhelmed is to do more and to take care of everyone else, and that just stops working. Like it gets to the point where it's too much and it's impossible for a person to do it. So we have to really start looking into the idea of taking care of yourself. And I don't mean like no shade on a pedicure. I don't mean just like getting a pedicure or something, like really truly thinking about what do you want for yourself. Women tend to feel pretty uncomfortable with that idea. Well, I what I want for myself comes after my husband and my kids and my boss and my whole team at work has what they need. Then I can think about what I need for myself.
Mhm.
And you
Yes.
can imagine how much overwhelm that causes because when you're doing that, if you just think about a calendar, if you're saying yes to everything that everyone's asking you about, your calendar is jam-packed and it's full of things that other people want from you instead of what you want.
Yes, and it reminds me of someone I'm working with right now who, I call in, kind of over functioning as a mom for one of her children. Like, one of them is very, very self-sufficient, kind of the classic, firstborn, very responsible
Uh-huh.
who also, could end up becoming a people pleaser. But, like, the younger one is, like, what I call under functioning for this kid's age. And so it's kind of like getting that awareness, like, "Oh, I'm doing too much for this child or for someone else or for others." And then it's like can be very uncomfortable if that's been the pattern for this kid's, I think 14 or 15, 14 years to then have a mom like step back and be like, "Okay, it's all you now." Like it can be a little because it's not their identity, right? It's not their belief.
Yes.
And then it's hard because it's like, oh, well, now my kid's gonna suffer because they don't know how to function without me. And I'm like, and they're gonna not know how to function without you when they're an adult. So, like, better do it now. Take those steps back
Yes.
now, right?
Yes, absolutely. And we also sort of tie our own enoughness to that, to like, I am enough because I am helping my child function every day. And so if I'm not, or I'm helping them less, then who am I? Like, what's left behind? And even to the point that I will say to the women who I work with, what do you like to do for fun? Or what are some things that you would like to do just for yourself? And I'm not again, like being negative towards them, but they will often say, I don't know. I don't know anymore. I go to my kids' soccer games. I am interested in this thing that my kid does. My friends are my kids' friends' moms, and it's all about like their spouse, their job, or their kids, and they kind of lose their own identity in the process.
Mhm. That's so true, and even if you think about it in terms of, like, food, right? Like, we're always food's a big thing for moms and, like, how are we gonna serve our family and the grocery list and making things. We're always, like, cooking things that we know our kids will like or that our may if we have a spouse, like, that our spouse will like, but, like, when's the last time you just made a dinner because you like it, right? Like, I feel
Right.
like that doesn't really happen because we don't wanna hear the complaints, we don't wanna hear the pushback,
Yeah.
but I think that's just kind of like a metaphor in a way for just kind of everything else is, like, you lose touch with your own taste for things or your own likes and wants and desires because in a way, I don't wanna say we're forced to, but in a way, it's like there's pushback in some way from our family if we have too much focus on that, and so I think, like, getting that space and getting that clarity is huge, and I remember, my very first coach that I had a coach years and
Mhm.
years ago who said, same exact thing, and I was so out of touch that she said, "Okay, this is literally your homework assignment. Every day for 10 minutes, you sit down and you just focus on the things that you like. It could be a taste, a smell, a color, a song. It could be literally anything, but it's the brain activity, like getting that neuroplasticity, getting those,
Mhm.
neurons connected of like focusing on myself and focusing on the things that I enjoy and that bring me without like, do my kids like it? Does my husband like it? Does anybody like it? Right? Who cares? It's about you. So it's like, that is huge. Like, I just want to make sure that I'm making, like, I think we're both making this point together that this is huge, like getting that awareness.
Yes, and the good news is it can come back. It's a habit. We've gotten in the habit of serving other people and paying attention to their needs over our own. But there was a time in our lives where we didn't do that, and we can get that back and even grow into being able to manage it where it feels really good, where you feel like I am taking great care of my family because I'm taking great care of myself and I'm enjoying things more and being more present and all of that. So even if someone listening is thinking, I have no idea what I like doing anymore. All hope is lost. It's totally not. It's the first step to solving the problem is just noticing that you're really doing probably too much for everybody else.
Yes. And this is where it gets fun because think about the mom who is really in touch with herself, who really does know what she likes and knows what her boundaries are, knows how to say no, isn't doing the people pleasing stuff. Think about what a good example she's setting for her teenagers or her kids. And, and it doesn't even matter the age, to be honest, but like, what an amazing example because we tend to repeat what we know. And so it's like if our moms were people pleasers and doing everything and exhausted and overwhelmed, we end up becoming that. But if we kind of break
Yes.
that cycle, then think about the example. And then our kids grow up and they're not kind of quote unquote suffering in the same like world of overwhelm that maybe we were familiar with in our past.
Yes, I think that's such a great point, and I feel like women who are around our age, like, I don't know about your experience, but I grew up my dad worked and my mom stayed home, and they both worked really hard, and now I'm a single mom, and I'm doing what both of my parents did. So, I feel like many women in our position are doing the jobs of both of our parents, but we've kept on, like, the people pleaser part that we may have learned, in my case, definitely did learn from my mom. So, then what do we do with that as we're also trying to manage owning businesses? It's too much. There's too much.
Yes, and sometimes it's kind of like the business is almost like another child, right? So it's like you're caring for a lot of people and a lot of things.
Yes,
Like, when
yes.
do you get a break? So tell us, like, what is your secret for your life? Because I'm a single mom
Yeah.
as well, raising 4 teenagers by myself, and it is a lot. I am doing both jobs and both roles. So I think a lot of our listeners today can learn from you. What is some of your
Yeah, yeah. I think well, it's interesting because I, of course, had to break a lot of old patterns. So the first thing was learning what those were, but when I started my own business, it was around the time that I was also getting divorced, and I previously had a job where I traveled a lot, and it was a very high stress corporate kinda job, and I thought, "I just can't do this anymore and have these kids on my own." And, I decided that I wanted to start my business, which I'd been working on for a while, like, I'd been doing coach training and all that stuff. So I started my business, and I noticed that I immediately started doing the same work habits that I had done for my whole 20-year career. As soon as my kids would go back to bed, I'd go to my office and I'd do some work, and it was kinda comical because I had, like, 2 clients. I just started my business. I didn't even have that much work to do, and I thought, "Wait, if I wanna be successful at this," and I feel like as coaches, it's very important to walk the walk and talk the
Oh, yeah.
talk. I can't
Yeah,
be like secretly overwhelmed on the side.
right.
So I set up a system of rules for myself, boundaries for myself that, I start work around 9, I finish work by 4 every day, and I don't ever work outside of my office. I used to take my laptop everywhere. I take it to my daughter's horse lessons. I would just throw it in my purse if I was going somewhere so I could like sneak something in. So I have very strong boundaries around my time. And that means that I have much more time with my kids in the evenings. And as you know about teenagers, sometimes they might be in their room for 2 straight hours and then they come out at 10 o'clock and want to have a conversation with you or whatever. So I just want to be around. I just want to be hanging around. And so the other thing I do is I outsource just everything that I don't like that doesn't feel like a good use of my time. Like I have a laundry service that comes on Tuesday and picks up the dirty clothes, returns it back on Wednesday. I have someone who cleans the house. I just hire anywhere possible, and I know people might be thinking like, "Well, I don't know if I can afford that." The laundry service is not even that expensive. Like, before you say, "I can't outsource that," check and see, or can you, like, trade with a friend or something?
Quick pause in this episode to tell you on April 30th at noon Central Time, I'm hosting a free webinar for moms called Get Through May Without Losing Your Joy, Your Mind, or Yourself. And if that title just hit you somewhere, go save your spot right now at positivelyhealthycoaching.com. If you can't make it live, no worries. Sign up anyway in advance and I'll send you the recording.
So I really, I also pick up there's a healthy meal kind of place close by, so I will often pick up just like bulk chicken breasts or whatever so that I have plenty of healthy food on hand so I don't always have to cook. So I have lots of like tips and tricks that I do in order to really I am like very strict on my time, how I spend my time.
Yes, I love all those ideas. I love it, and I too started a kind of, if you wanna call it cheating on food, where I started a meal service, and I've done some in the past. It's not that I've never done it before, but what I noticed is the overwhelm in myself when I was even trying to choose which one to.
Yeah.
'Cause you go on and there's different, and I'm gluten free and I'm picky about certain things, and so I'm like, "Well, that," and then I'm like, I walk away, I never get back to it for a week or 2, and then I'm like, now I'm back at the grocery store and I'm all annoyed about it. I'm like, right? And so it's like carving out the time to even make the decision, to have enough brain space in your brain to be able to, like, say, "Okay, this is how stepping, 2 steps back is gonna get me 10 steps forward because it's gonna end up
Yes.
saving me so much time in the long run." So I really too, I get that. I had to work really hard on, like, so I have my weekly delivery. I love it. It's amazing. My kids don't love it all the time, but I say, "Guys, it makes my life so much easier." So,
Yep.
that's a huge one, but I love all your other tips as well about the laundry and all these things to.
Yes, and you're right, it takes time to research that and get those things set up.
Yeah.
So it is important to realize this is gonna take me more work for a minute in order to get this thing set up. The other thing I did too was with my finances, to go all through those and set it up and set up a budget, but I now have it where, each one of the bills just comes out automatically. I know the date that it comes out, I can go and I can see them. So I had this task of, like, going through the mail and paying bills that's just now gone. Like, it's all automated because I set it up that way. So little things like that, I feel like add up over time where I feel like I am available to drive my kids to practice. I am available if someone wants to come out of their room and talk to me at 8 o'clock at night.
Yes, yes, I love that, and so that way, at that time, you can be truly present with your kids, which is serving both you and them because, A, you don't feel, like, guilty, like, "Oh, I'm too distracted or busy or tired right now." So it's serving you in that you're being your best self for them, and it's serving them because you're giving them your full attention, so I.
Yes, exactly, and it's really helpful during the workday too to know, okay, I'm clocking out at 4 o'clock, so I'm sitting at my desk. Like, for example, I don't go out to lunch. Like, sometimes my friends, not anymore. Now they just know. I tend to have a lot of clients around the lunchtime hour because they think they want to talk to me on their lunch. But if I go out to lunch and take like an hour and a half or 2 hours of the workday, then I'm not going to be able to get all of the things done that I want to get done if I just work between my work hours. So when I'm working, I'm not kidding around. I go to the gym before that. I come back and I am seriously working and just fully entrenched, which then feels really good when you quit for the day. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, I did it. I stayed on task. I knew I had to record a podcast today, whatever. And then I can just close that door and open the door to just being the home mom.
Yes, yes, I love it. You just, like, lock in and then you can
Yes.
can get out.
Yes.
That's It's so beautiful. So, last kind of topic I wanna hit on is you brought to my attention the idea of white space on your calendar, and I've talked to other ladies on my podcast about calendaring and coding, but I never heard of the word white space, and I was like, "Whoa, that sounds amazing. That sounds refreshing." Like, I love this
Yes.
concept because then it's like, well, then what do you do if you have white space on your calendar? So tell us,
Right.
besides gym and hanging out with your kids, like, what do you do with white space?
Yeah, that's a great question. First of all, I think what do you do with white space on your calendar? I think what a lot of women do is they fill it in. Like, they try to put something in there. And so just getting comfortable with the idea that you have a calendar that has white space on it can feel uncomfortable sometimes, especially if you're used to being, like, fully booked at all times, practices at night for 2 different kids and all that kind of stuff. So, first, you have to get used to the idea of having white space. And then I just think of that as my time to create the type of life that I really want to have. So for me, the type of life that I want to have is one that does not feel overwhelming and it feels calm and it feels fun and I feel present in it. So when I'm thinking about what's going to go on my calendar, I use this thing called the love and fit test that I teach my clients in order to decide if something's going to go on my calendar or not, because I want to leave that white space open for the possibility of whatever may come during that time. So the way that the love and fit test works is if someone asks you to do something. So for example, just this week, somebody asked me to do something for my daughter's team. Can you cook a meal or make some cookies or whatever it was? And so I asked myself 2 questions. Number 1, do I absolutely love this idea? That's the love part of the love and fit test. And then number 2 is, does this fit into the type of life that I'm trying to create? And the second question is not, does it fit into my calendar? Because when you work to get white space on your calendar, you might be like, oh, yeah, there is that white space. But does it fit into the definition of the life that I'm trying to create? So the first question, do I love this idea? I was like, yeah, actually, I do. I really love making cookies. And my daughter would be super excited if I made cookies. So, yes, I do love it. And does it fit into the type of life that I'm trying to create? Then I had to look and see, how is this week? When exactly am I going to do that? I know it sounds silly, but making cookies is going to take like an hour at least. So I look to see, I'm like, okay, yes, it will still fit into the type of life I'm trying to create where I am available for my kids and I'm not overwhelmed and I'm calm and I'm enjoying life. And so I said yes to it. But if it would have been an absolute no, like if somebody would have said, do you want to go out on Thursday night at 8 o'clock and go check out this new band downtown? The answer would have been, I do not love that idea. And that does not fit into the type of life I'm trying to create, because for me to be not overwhelmed, I want to go to bed at 9 o'clock and I want to get a great night's sleep and I want to get up in the morning and go to the gym. So that's an example of where it would be no and no. And if you consistently apply that, then your calendar starts really reflecting what works for you.
I love it. Oh my gosh, this is inspiring me so much to look at my calendar and look for my white space and do the love and fit test. Michelle, this has been awesome, this conversation. How can the listeners find you?
Well, they could listen to my podcast, which is called Overwhelmed Working Woman. I feel like everything we touched on in here, I have an episode about, like an episode about how to plan your week, the love and fit test, all those things. So if you like what I'm saying, you would definitely find more there. And then if someone's interested in doing one-on-one coaching, my website is michellegothier.com. And I've got a couple things on there. One kind of fun thing is a free quiz where you can find out what's causing your overwhelm. So I took all the things that I've learned from my hundreds of clients at this point and made a quiz to help you see, okay, it's this thing. It's the way I'm managing my time that's making me feel overwhelmed, or it's because I'm saying yes to too many things. So that's kind of fun. And it gives you things that you can do about each one. And then there's a link to set up a free consultation with me if you're interested in doing coaching.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. This has been amazing. And I just know the listeners got at least, I know I got multiple things out of this conversation, so I'm sure they have as well. All the links will be in the show notes, so they'll be able to find you. And thanks again.
Thank you.
When you get a chance, please go to the show notes and click on the link ratethispodcast.com/tphmom to give my podcast a rating and review. And if this episode resonates with you, be sure to share it with your mom friends who are going through the same things. Be sure to tune in for next week's conversation. Until then, keep up the good work.